Even in future, where if your kids ask your mommy, who am I? Where do I come from? You should be able to explain your roots, your foundation to your kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Waitsi, I'm listening to you talk about the signs, and some signs you're talking and we're nodding and saying yes. These are the signs that we would normally see when people display those particular signs. But as Batho, we tend to become ignorant, and we think these mental disorders or mental illnesses are not for us.
They're not there.
They're not there. And even with the older generation, when you start to speak out and say, I think there's something wrong, I might be slipping straight into depression, I've got anxiety, I've got this, you are taken as, I get this. No, this is not something that is serious. This one is acting up. There's a TikTok trend that is going around that says, if, for example, you are depressed, they're going to say, depressed.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. However, like I said, some of these things, because we still say that mental disorders are still seen as taboo, and discrimination that comes with it is still there. So people won't necessarily feel comfortable in disclosing. Yes, there's a lot more people that are coming out and disclosing, telling people how they can live with their statuses or whatever mental disorder they have, and sharing their stories because they're comfortable in sharing their stories. It was up to them.
Yes.
But I mean, in working environments, same as what you're saying now with reporting for equity, if they don't disclose on your EA1, there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. So we can't force people to disclose. Yeah. So do you think we will get to a stage, because like you said, talking about things will normalize, but do you think we will get to a stage where mental health disorders are like your normal ailment in the body? It's seen as
One, two, three, four.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Couch Talk with LHS. I am your host, Mpele, aka Boss Lady. And as you can see, we're out of our comfort zone and looking all sorts of stunning. I'm sitting with two beautiful ladies, and as always, Zanele, Buthelezi, aka Zenzi. And today we are joined by Nonnie, Nonhlanhla, Sithebe.
Hi everyone. Thanks ladies for having me.
Oh, thank you very much for coming through. You look amazing.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
I need to put it out there. Nonnie had as a disclaimer. Right?
It's on record now.
Oh, it's on record.
I will think about that.
Well, when things are now put on record, it starts getting serious. I'm going to leave them.
Okay, we have to put it in writing first. There's nothing in writing.
True HR person.
Your HR is coming up now.
A true HR person. Also, Nonnie, thank you so much for coming through and joining us for the session. So we just celebrated Heritage Day. So in the spirit of celebration, so you guys look amazing.
Thank you.
Right. So maybe before we start with our topic and before I start introducing you and telling people about who you are, what does heritage mean to you?
Heritage is a diverse celebration of our nation's culture. We all come from different cultures, Zulus, Xhosas, Ngunis, you name it, within our African continent. So I actually think that it's a celebration and a remembrance of who we are, knowing our roots, where we come from, so that we don't forget our identity, where we are. Because it's very important that you know yourself so that you don't get confused. Because obviously, even in future, where if your kids ask your mommy, who am I? Where do I come from? You should be able to explain your roots, your foundation to your kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jwalo ka Basotho ba tjho o tshwanetse o tsebe mo o tswang teng hore o kgone ho tseba mo o yang teng.
Yes.
But you look amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so just to introduce you here, Nonnie or Nonhlanhla Sithebe is the founding director of Flora Wellness Clinic.
Yes.
All right. So just to discuss our topic, so we're talking about wellness, just so that we can unpack wellness. What is wellness? We want to talk about mental health because I mean, for people, babangata, it's still seen as taboo, right? We want to talk about EAP. What is an employee assistance program? The difference between the two. Are we using the two words interchangeably, or does it have meaning? Okay, so so what is mental health?
Okay. First, before I can explain mental health, it's just that most of the time people seem to confuse the term mental health, thinking that if you're referring to mental health, it means that it's an absence of a mental illness. And really, that is not the case. So I'll just use a definition in terms of the World Health Organization. They actually define it as a state of a person's well-being where a person is able to operate within their personal space very well, and also in their occupational space very well, and also able to also operate in their social space very well, and also able to contribute to the economy in a positive in a positive way. But however, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are mentally healthy, you don't have a mental illness. You can have a mental illness, but if you are able to manage your mental illness, you taking your medication or you attending your therapy, that means that that person is also mentally healthy. So hence I'm saying that sometimes people, they tend to confuse that. So it's not an absence of a mental illness, but it's a way how a person is able to participate in their day-to-day life, able to manage stress, able to manage their emotions, because we are all emotional beings. Yeah, there's no person that is not emotional. Someone can say something, you can get offended by that. We are raised from different cultures, as it is at Heritage Day, we're talking about different cultures. We are raised from different environment. As we are raised from different environment, we are taught that maybe, for example, if you are a woman, you need to behave in a certain manner. You need to respect men. When you're talking to men in some cultures, you're not allowed, if you're a woman, to look at the men in their eye, or to adults, you need to actually face down. It's a sign of respect. But in a corporate world, obviously, you can't do that. Yes, you need to show confidence, But then the moment somebody else starts behaving in that manner, and then you will think that there is something wrong with that person. But absolutely, there is nothing wrong with that person. It's just because of their culture. It's who they are. So hence I'm saying that other people, they could even label a person and say that this person lacks self-confidence. Now that's labeling a person. But yet you have not explored the other side about that person. Because, in psychology, there is this model which is called Johari's window. So you know that
Yes,
we've
got a training course on that. Yes.
So sometimes people, something that is actually not known to them, it threatens them. But it's very important as a person that you need to actually explore other side, explore other side, explore other things. And there are things that we don't know about ourselves that other people know about us, So as I'm saying that we are all emotional beings. So mental health, it means that we know how to manage our emotions. We know how to manage stress, because stress it's actually our normal life. Our lives are stressful. So if you don't know how to manage stress, then I will definitely classify you as a person who are mentally not healthy. Because if stress it's not managed, it can easily escalate to a depression. And then obviously if a depression is also not managed, it can easily escalate to a bipolar disorder. So you can see now, just by stress alone, you not manage very well. And stress, we cannot run away from it. The moment you start leaving your house, not even leaving your house, the moment you start waking up, then the stress comes because of now you're thinking about the meetings. If you are a parent, you're thinking about you have to go and drop kids, it's the running around, it's the traffic on the road. By the time you get to work, already, you've started experiencing stress, and then your day starts. And then you spend your 8 hours at work, and then there's pressure, and then you need to spend your 8 hours with people coming from different cultures, with different behaviors, with different thoughts. And obviously within that space, you need to try and compose yourself. And as you're composing yourself, it's not easy because of now, you need, in our work environment, you need to watch what you say. You need to watch, trade carefully. Yes. So, I mean, all that, it's tiring. And our jobs are also very demanding in this day in life. So that is stress. By the time you get home, you're exhausted. If you're a parent also, you have kids that you need to take care of. It's exhausting, So you need to, as people, we need to learn to manage stress on a day-to-day basis so that we can sort of like detox. I call it like detoxing. But obviously, let me not talk too much.
But based on what you said, Nonnie, I just want to, not everybody is aware of their emotions, right? Not everybody is aware of how they present themselves or at which stage they are currently in their lives. So how would I know that I suffer from a mental disorder?
The only way let me just say, or maybe the signs. So the signs is that the moment you're struggling to function very well whether in your personal environment or whether it's your work environment or whether in your society, and then that is a sign that, okay, there's something wrong. When I'm saying that, okay, let me just elaborate a little bit what I mean. That the moment you are unable to function very well. So you are unable to function very well without having an anxiety, of something. Let's say, like, maybe for example, you have an interview.
Yes.
Let's say you have an interview.
Yeah.
Okay, the following day. Okay. And then if you have an interview the following day, now you can't sleep at night. Now, that is not normal. Yes, you must be able to sleep. Yes, you have an interview. Yes, you can prepare for it. But if now it comes to a point whereby you can't think properly, you're always stressing about, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't even think if I'm going to make it. Now, that is not normal. Now, that is not normal. It means now you can't function very well. Or in your workspace, let's say in your workspace, like for example, you are constantly fighting with your colleagues or constantly fighting with your managers. And when you're actually looking at what is it that is actually triggering this fight, you see that you are being triggered as a person. Maybe your manager or your colleague said that you didn't do this right. Maybe the presentation, maybe that you prepared, it was missing something, and then they are trying to assist you, and then you just see that as a personal attack. But it's not a personal attack on you, but it's just they are trying to correct or to give you support in terms of the presentation that you've prepared. And then you will go and say that, okay, this person is against me, this person does not like me. You can't operate in a well manner with people. So now your personal problems or let's say, because in most of the instances when people act that way, you might find out that maybe a person has got a childhood trauma and they are not aware of that childhood trauma that they have also, and then they are being triggered, Or sometimes you can find out that your manager can trigger you. Maybe your father or your mother used to say a certain thing to you that irritated you back then when you were a child. maybe they were making you to feel as if you're not good enough. So the moment your manager or your colleagues start to make you to feel as if you're not good enough, and then you move into this space, and then you become emotional, and then you get triggered, and then you can't work with people that makes you to feel as if you're not good enough. But not only to say that they are saying that you're not good enough, but it's just that you are being triggered. Because yes, if you're not performing, you're supposed to be given feedback, positive feedback, constructive feedback, to say that, okay, how about you improve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and receiving such feedback, it's personal growth. You will grow also as a person.
Wait, see, I'm listening to you talk about the signs, and some signs you're talking and we're nodding and saying yes, yes. These are the signs that we would normally see when people display those particular signs. But as Batho, we tend to become ignorant, ne? And we think these mental disorders or mental illnesses are not for us.
They're not there.
You know, they're not there. And even with the older generation, when you start to speak out and say, I think there's something wrong, I might be slipping straight into depression, I've got anxiety, I've got this, you are taken as, I get this. You know, no, this is not something that is serious. This one is acting up. Ooh, there's a TikTok trend that is going around that says, if, for example, you are depressed, they're going to say, depressed. We are going to So there's certain things that we as the African people don't necessarily take care of, like our mental health and our wellness as people. Some people go through tragic instances or incidences that they bottle up and bottle up and bottle up, right? How do we educate our own people to say, speak up, 1? 2, once the person has spoken up, know how to assist. If you can't assist, don't belittle the person that has spoken up, you know, because sometimes you are belittled because because it's something that they, like you said, rightfully so, it's like, or there's something wrong how if you say those things. And they would even stretch it, they overly use the word bipolar. I'm not bipolar. I'm not bipolar. We understand? So how do we educate and keep on educating? And how, as as an individual, now having to come out and speak up about those things? Where do I start?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I hear you. First, I think people, what needs to do, they need to be educated. So, but now, how can they be educated? I think it will, people that can assist or that can become stakeholders in trying to educate employees, in trying to educate people amongst our communities. First, I would say is our employers. Okay, then they can have a disability management awareness, because obviously some of the mental illnesses they fall under disability. Okay, because of it's something that you will have for life. There is no cure for it, but however, it is manageable. Okay, so now if employers, they can have awareness program, okay, make people aware about different types of mental illnesses that are there. Not only educate, but also implement what they are preaching. Because of, as employers, sometimes what they tend to do, just talking based on experience, they could have this wonderful, beautiful policies, employment equity policies, in terms of accommodating people with disabilities. But however, when it comes to implementation, then it's another story. There is no implementation, because of obviously there is no one enforcing that. Yes. Even with we are submitting, like employers are actually submitting the employment equity report, but however there's no enforcement in terms of that. You submit, but you'll never hear government coming back and saying that, okay, because of this financial year you've recruited one person or with a disability, or you've recruited none, okay, and then maybe motivate employers to employ more people. No, there isn't. Or maybe give that education to employers. I mean, now I'm talking now about our government, also give education to our employers, hosting workshop so that employers they can have an understanding in terms of, okay, yes, we have policies, but you need to actually implement them. Because of there is no implementation. The stigma is still there very much. You will find people saying that, if you have ADHD, for example, maybe you will not be accepted to a certain school. I won't mention schools. You will not be accepted. Like for example, if let's say a child is applying for medicine, medicine school, they're gonna say that this child won't have they won't able to concentrate or pay attention, but only to find out that this child is excelling at school. Because of, remember, as I've said, that as long as you know how to manage your condition, then it's fine. Then you are mentally healthy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, because all of us, we all have our bad days also. And anyway, what is normal? Yes, the question is, what is normal? I mean, who even classified that, okay, certain people, because of behaving like this, are normal, because of majority people are behaving like this, and then they are classified as normal. Somehow I don't think that is fair. I think we are all special in our special ways, and we should be accommodated and able to live in one environment. So so government should educate employers, and then employers should educate employees, have programs, and then hire people in that's got a mental illness, okay, and then make them to participate, get them involved and engaged in the workplace, get them also involved in the awareness program, so that they can speak up, they can talk, so that they are not afraid also to talk about their conditions, because there are a lot of people in the workplace, but they do not disclose. Yes, they are mental illnesses, because of they are afraid of being discriminated on. And the moment they start doing that, if they are experiencing problem in their day-to-day job, they are left with no support. But if they could disclose, and then they could be given support, because all of us now and then, we all need support.
I think
Yes.
just to add on Zanele's question, right? I've got two things that I want to, because I mean, we all have a responsibility, right? Employers, yes, as an added, I wouldn't say a benefit as such, but as additional programs to supporting the employees, would have programs like your wellness and your EAP programs, right, to educate. And if done correctly, it's effective. However, we do see that at times employees are still scared based on stigma, based on being discriminated, right? They'd rather do it in confidence. Obviously, the sessions are in confidence, but I would not want to see somebody or employees seeing me go into the room with a counselor or something like that. So how can you advise employers then in terms of educating the rest of the staff or the workforce? And number two, just to add on what Zanele was saying, it's still seen as taboo in our communities, right? And maybe some people take it lightly, and it's certain things that are big and they take it lightly. For example, some males reporting being sexually harassed at the police station, being laughed at, that they experience the trauma. You go and seek for help, and somebody doesn't take you seriously. I'm not gonna go again and seek for assistance. I'm not even going to share my story. And that build up, if somebody says something, it triggers, then it starts again. So how do we educate our community about such things? Because mental health is not the fact that it is not that. It is not that. Take for example, take for example, COVID situation. I mean, anxiety was the name of the game for me. You know, and the fact that you are aware, I could tell, well, now I'm slipping into that. You know, you seek medication or you seek certain things, the drops or whatever, just to calm yourself down. Because at that stage, it was unfamiliar. Everything that we were going through was not something that was comfortable to me. You know, so how do we educate then our community? How do we educate our employees as well as the employers, maybe?
Okay, all right. Let's first start with the community. Okay, first with the community. I'm going to go back to the Department of Health in our government. There are outreach programs that government have, and the outreach staff, they do go out to the communities to educate. But however, I don't think they are visible enough. I don't think there is much work that is done in terms of mental health, because most of the work that I see mostly that is done, it's in terms of HIV and TB management, but not so much on mental health. But however, mental health, it's impact almost all of us. Yes. And then also, so I think maybe then the government, in terms of those outreach programs, they could introduce maybe a mental health awareness program, so whereby they could then the outreach workers, then they could go to our communities and educate our communities. And then number two, schools, so that kids, they can be educated, you know, to be made aware that as people, we are diverse, we are different. So if a person is struggling, don't laugh at them, but assist them. And then if a person is got a mental illness, don't say that person is mad or is crazy. That illness is the same as any other physical illness. So to try and normalize it, so that when kids, they grow up with that knowledge instilled in their mind and the understanding that, okay, mental illness is the same as any physical illness. Because now, obviously, kids, they grow up with the knowledge that if you have a mental illness, it means there's something wrong with you. That is very, very wrong with you. Coming now to the employers, CEOs, they can disclose their mental health, because some of the CEOs, they have mental health. I mean, according to research shows that most of the CEOs, they suffer from ADHD. Because of a person with ADHD, they are able to multitask, which is one of their strengths. But most of them, they don't disclose. But then if your CEO comes and discloses that, what would you do? You'll be like, wow. You will see yourself as a normal person, knowing that you're also suffering from the same mental illness.
But I also just have to, I understand what you're saying, but because some of these things are private, you know, and there's reasons why it's not necessary for a CEO to maybe disclose, you know, some of their things. But I agree with the fact that, you know, educating maybe in a certain way, or having programs, workshops, finding people like wellness companies that are going to teach and, you know, educate the employees in terms of what it is, how to spot such disorders and what it is that you need to do about them. Yeah,
but rather, if you don't disclose, we keep on hiding it, how are we going to normalize it? So it's like back in the past, remember how people they didn't want to disclose their HIV status. They kept on hiding it. But now most of the people are just disclosing. It doesn't even matter, because of more and more people started talking about it, started sharing how they are actually managing it, how it is like to live with it. Because of, if you're sharing information with another person, that is support. You're giving support to somebody else, and you're also motivating other people. So, because the more we hide and we don't disclose, yes, it's people's it's private. Yes, no one is forced. But I'm just saying that to try and normalize, because normally what happens is that, you know, when you when an HR person is writing a report for, or creating or drafting a report for employment equity report. People, they don't disclose. They don't disclose. And as a result, it means incorrect information. It's recorded in terms of how many people with disabilities are working within our population, South African population, meaning that now it actually looks as if few people with disabilities are actually active in our work population.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. However, like I said, some of these things because we still say that mental disorders are still seen as taboo and discrimination that comes with it is still there. So people won't necessarily feel comfortable in disclosing. Yes, there's a lot more people that are coming out and disclosing, telling people how they can live with their statuses or, whatever mental disorder they have, and sharing their stories because they're comfortable in sharing their stories. It was up to them.
Yes.
But I mean, in working environments, same as what you're saying now with reporting for equity, if they don't disclose on your EA1, there's nothing you can do. It is what it is. So we can't force people to disclose. Yeah. So do you think we will get to a stage, because like you said, talking about things will normalize, but do you think we will get to a stage where mental health disorders are like your normal ailment in the body? It's seen as
currently, I will say, it's maybe one day. I pray that maybe one day, but right now we still have a long road to go. Very, very long road to go. Very long road to go, because some of the jobs, when you're applying for a job, sometimes I am involved in recruitment. You find that maybe people will tell you exactly when you're recruiting that, okay, I don't want someone with a certain mental disorder, because of they have this conception that they weren't able to deliver. So that's why I'm saying that it's not now, maybe in future, but it has to come with a lot of education and lot of not just only education, because you can educate a person, but people, they need to actively participate in these programs, meaning that they can maybe there could be maybe a team building of some sort, whereby they are teamed with people with a mental disorder and a team without a mental disorder, and then they are given activities, and then they do the activities, they finish, and then maybe they should say that, okay, who do you think is going to mental disorder? Because of no one has disclosed. All tasks are performed correctly, so how are you going to assess?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, because I think we're still going there in terms of people accepting that mental disorders are there, and we live with people with mental disorders. Maybe 1 out of 5 people doesn't have the mental disorder, but the 4 people would have the mental disorder. But what I'm liking with today's generation in a way is that I was watching Gomorrah not so long ago, a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about ADHD in the classroom. There's a child that had it or has it, and the teacher then spoke ill of that particular disorder, and it affected the child to the point where the child now left the school, right? So that is part of the education that is coming out now, to say these are the after effects of you talking bad about these disorders. If the other person receives it, they don't receive it the way you think they should be receiving it. It's not like that. Not all of us are strong and we can take it as champions and move on. Some people, it really breaks them. So that's the education that is coming out, to say, talk about it, Then when you talk about it, this is what you get. Some people would be understanding because the principal is very much understanding and supportive and wants the child to come back to school. While the teacher, on the other hand, is the opposite side of this whole situation. Not necessarily understanding, but thinking, bipolar, this and that. So with that education, because a lot of people watch television, it's coming out. If other TV programs could come up and speak about it in a different perspective, it's bits by bits of education that even the learners or kids, because kids watch television mostly, they start to learn how the other person is affected, and they start to then grow so that the next generation that comes forth, they better understand these things. And if someone says, I've got bipolar, it's normal, like Noah said, it's like, okay, you've got a headache, you're going to be fine, go see a therapist. Or how can I assist you? Do you want to talk? Do you want to sit down? I may not be a professional, but I can give you an ear, because sometimes someone just wants an ear. Let me vent. Then afterwards, I move on, so that education is coming there. I like what you said when it comes to the schools themselves starting to build up in terms of education, because a lot of things that are taught in school, you grow up knowing them, so bits by bits, I think we're going to get there.
I think the thing that needs to increase a whole lot more is the education behind it, whether be it in schools or in the workplace. So just that positive, exactly.
Yeah.
Even at home, ngwana moshimane ha lle then that's where they hide their feelings. When something bad, when they experience trauma, so
that's
the
why they end up
education
killing
behind
themselves.
exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
So the education behind it is very important. I think, Lee, in the working environment, we should just make it positive when we talk about wellness. It shouldn't be a case here, it's in bad light, because people are not going to come out and share their story. People are not going to come out and seek for help. So we should just do it in a positive light and work on strategies. So you're going to tell us about what you do in your business. Yeah, maybe just so that at least if somebody, is listening to the podcast or is watching the podcast and they would maybe want to find out more about your services, maybe just in that space, where do you operate? Do you operate in specific sectors or industries, or is it to anybody that's willing to, to come through?
Yes, okay. So first we deal with counseling, all sorts of counseling. And we also specialize in EAP programs. We tailor-made EAP programs according to the company's needs and requirements.
You're offering to the corporate market.
Okay.
All right.
And we'll also offer one-on-one individual counseling. So which means you can call in and book for counseling or book for a coaching session. And then we'll coach you on certain areas, whether it's personal growth but we don't do business coaching, but it's just only dealing with personal growth, talking about how to balance your life. So that's where we actually do an assessment of your 8 wellness dimension, and then we create a program for you to follow, so that you can balance your wellness, your wellness dimension. Yes, because as we are people, we are not perfect. If maybe you on your or maybe on the assessments report you are lacking on emotional wellness, maybe you want to improve your emotional IQ on how you talk to people, on how you respond. Because remember, business, it's all about building relationship, and then we're gonna create a program for you to develop yourself on that. And then if let's say you want to build, you want to focus, or if let's say maybe your report comes back showing that you're lacking in terms of your occupational level, and then we're looking at, okay, where you want to be, what skills do you have, what access do you have within your means. so that we can look at how can you best penetrate, the market that is accessible to you. So we're looking at those things, because sometimes a person can have career aspiration, but then they don't know what to do, they don't know how to get there. So we assist them so that they can have a map on knowing how to get there. Yes, and then so then it's all the individual counseling. So, and also what we actually do, we are a group of specialists. So it's a group of social workers, and it's with the group of therapists. Yes, counselors. So we deal with, and also a group of financial advisors. So if, let's say, you have a problem, and then we assess you for all these 9 wellness dimension, and then the financial component of it needs to be addressed, and then we will refer you to a person, yes, that will assist you with that. And then if maybe it's a social legal matter kind of related situation, could be whether maybe it has to deal with maintenance, because mostly maintenance, and then we will assist you to do the maintenance agreement. So we will communicate with your partner or with your ex-husband, and then we formalize a maintenance agreement for both of you without the partners fighting. So we will facilitate it harmoniously between the two people, make them to see that it's actually not about you, but it's the child. Let's look at the child's best need. It always works, rather than having to court and having to fight in court for the child. But we actually look at the child's needs. Yes, it's not easy at the beginning, but it is a winning formula, and it's much better than going to the court.
Definitely.
Yes.
So you're working in a network there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Nonnie, for joining us. So we can share your details. We can put it at the bottom of the screen when we showcase in the podcast. And then for people that are interested, then they can definitely know where to contact you.
Yes,
We
definitely.
really appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for tuning in. So as you've heard everything from Nonnie Sithebe, we really appreciate it. So if there's anything that you want to share, anything that you want to comment on based on the topic, please leave your comment below. And remember, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, adios. Goodbye.
Bye.
1, 2, 3.